Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second breakfast session of this year. Topic of the day is what we think a pretty pertinent one, which will only grow in relevance, and that's what we will try to demonstrate. It's about providing teams, people with the tools to actually reap the benefits, the value of digital more and more themselves. And it's a topic where we think there's still quite some time and discussion we'll need to get our heads around. And in that context, I invited three speakers to shine a light on it. First one is Gunther. Gunther is unit manager at SD Worx of the Center of Excellence, and Gunther will tell us about how they're organizing themselves around the topic at SD Worx. Then Ingrid Vanherpen, architect at XPLUS, working at XPLUS, will shine a light on how, from an architectural point of view, we look at it and organize ourselves around it at XPLUS. And then Annemie Mariën, associate partner on digital transformation at XPLUS, will take a step back and take a wider view on the topic. As always, the presentation is being recorded. We ask you to stay muted, and you won't have a choice because the webinar wouldn't allow it to speak, but to stay muted in the webinar. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them via the question and answer button. We'll follow up those questions, and if there is time at the end of the session, we'll tackle some topics of it. You'll get the material at the end of the session. We'll distribute it, and then for the rest, enjoy the session.
Let's kick off. So, Gunther Buelens, SD Worx, the manager of the Center of Excellence. So first of all, Bart, I want to thank you for the invitation because, as you know, I'm always interested in talking about the new way of working, in going into interaction with different people and to have some key takeaways. So for me, it's always interesting to have those insights, and I'm convinced that today we will receive them. Give me just a second. Okay. The agenda, I want to just highlight who is SD Worx and what are we doing to take you along in the digital journey that we undertaken and some key learnings and takeaways. First of all, SD Worx, I would assume that some of you already know SD Worx, but to give some highlights on who we are and what we do is we deliver the solutions across the entire employee life cycle, from paying an employee to attracting, employing, rewarding, and developing the talent which makes a success for our businesses. An additional one is we power performance by 4 core capabilities, which is software, outsourcing, consultancy, and data-driven insights. Besides that, we're the trusted European leader for end-to-end HR solutions. We see that we already have more than 90,000 clients, small and large companies for whom we are doing salaries. We're having more than 75 years of experience doing over Europe more than 5,700,000 pay slips, and we all do this with 7,500 people. So we grew a lot in the last years. If we then do a bit of a drill down into the company, and which is then my role and my responsibility, we're in Belgium. We're doing from those 5.7 million pay slips. We're doing 1 million pay slips with approximately more than 500 first liners. And with the first liners, our aim is to support our customers and to see that everything they need to do and that salaries are paid at the end of the month, that they're paid correct and in time, so that all of their employees receive the money on their pay, on their account, so that at the end they can pay all of their bills. What we see is that accordingly to the operational part, our first liners needed to do a lot of additional stuff. They needed to support customers on reporting, on giving insights, on whatever it is, small solutions, big solutions, questions about toolings and whatever. So we had a huge influx of questions and a huge influx of tasks which needed to be done. So based on these insights that we had, we started a digital transformation journey just to support our first liners so that they can all focus on what's important for our customers and not doing just the necessary things within the company. We defined some goals that we were pursuing. One of them was a huger customer experience. We also wanted to work on the employee satisfaction. The reliability needed to go up. We also wanted to have an increased efficiency combined with a cost reduction. And we wanted to go to more consistency and uniformity. We wanted to eliminate the variability within our solutions and within our answers towards our customers. So what we did is we start talking about what then do we need and how do we proceed in those things. And we came to the following. So we needed a team with technical skills that can focus and then will have impact. A team which was accountable and which wasn't tied to any specific technology, that things in processes and not in products, which was able to accelerate and which wasn't a threat to people, but rather was one of them with the same goal. So we started a center of excellence, and instead of starting the center of excellence within products or within IT, we included it within the business because of all of the reasons I just mentioned, being one of them, being having focus and having more impact. So that was a first important step. If I then take you through the journey that we had, we started in 2019, we started the digital transformation program with an additional supplier, McKinsey, to support us on how can we get along. So we started in transformation office. We onboarded a number of change agents, and we also started an IT squad to implement the technical solutions, where at that moment in time, I was part of it to translate solutions into what then business value. We started working on efficiency and effectiveness via technology and smart sourcing. And then combined with those things, we started focusing on the mindset and the methodology. Along the line, what we saw is that we already had a CI mindset with a lot of people. The only thing what we saw is that during those times, we saw that a lot of people created initiatives, but they were all related towards the existing applications. We got stuck in the application area. On the other hand, we, as our team, we had a high focus on RPA and how could we optimize the way of working, but we needed to have a huge ROI to make it sustainable and to have the benefit of it. This said, we saw that based on those insights that we had a low influx of initiatives. Besides that, we started, like I mentioned, methodology, the lean, where we reinforced continuous improvement. We put it on the agenda. We started with problem-solving sessions, process confirmations, all in regards to how can we create more mindset with people. Besides this, and knowing what I said first, the high ROE, there was also low-hanging fruit of different things what we can do within the teams themselves, in the sense that we start with smart sourcing. And smart sourcing is that who is then the most suitable person to do a job? If 5 people are doing one similar job, perhaps it's easier to centralize with one person. So based on the process, based on volume, language, and skills, we saw that what can we do with a process, and can we perhaps shift it towards one person, a team, or one of our hubs that we had at that time. So slowly we started, and after 2 years, we defined that we were ready for Belgium. The transformation office went to different other countries, and they hand over the stick towards our team, which then was the domestic center of excellence, and this was the birth of the center of excellence in Belgium. At the same time, they reinforced the central technical team, because we were convinced that all about the added value of technology, RPA, and art systems. What we did at that time is that we redefined the local approach and we set up the governance. And by redefining the local approach, we said that due to the fact that in the past we had few initiatives and they're all related towards application, we said, okay, let's sit within the teams, let's see how we can proceed, and we're going to create direct benefits. We want to have initiatives, no matter how big or tall or small they were. We want to have initiatives so that we can use them, so that we can start branding successes and that we can showcase them that with every little step they're taking, there is an added value on their workload, on their time that they're spending on those little processes. We set up some governance to support them. We set up communities because branding is an important one. We needed to work on the mindset of the different teams. And we started also having a look more and more at the end-to-end process, where at the beginning, everybody got stuck on their own process and just look what they need to do manually and how can be this one translated towards a digital way of working. But they forgot the part in front, the post and the pre part, so they forgot it a bit like that. What we saw in that time is that when working on trust, because people weren't really in favor of letting the job go because of quality, because of, they were a bit afraid about their proper job. So we worked on the trust factor combined with the mindset factor. And what we saw in that time, when we talk about technology, it wasn't really that kind of a technology. It was rather the existing Office applications like Excel, where we started with Power Query, where we had also the VBAs, the Access, and due to the fact that we were working with the mainframe, we can do a lot of scripting on mainframe. So, and this is what we done. What we saw by changing the approach that we had is that over the coming years, we started with, for example, I think in 2021, we had 50 initiatives, and in 24 or 23, we had 127. So doing the approach being near to the teams, being near to the people, we saw that there was a big increase and we saw that there was a shift in mindset, which was also important because we bumped into it that we needed to connect it with products and IT because there's a huge interactions between the different teams. By changing software, by changing screens, we had some impact on different processes. Moving along in the sense that we also saw that Microsoft had some new technology, the Power Automate Desktop. We also heard about the citizen development. So we thought, okay, let's give it a head and let's see how we can proceed on this one. Based on the mindset that we already had, we thought that it would be feasible and suitable that we had a lot of people who were interested in doing things by themselves. But what we saw at this moment is that for our kind of people who are working for us, it's still a bit too far. They have a lack of knowledge, interest, also have a lack of time. So I think it's also important that we need to embed it more within management style and within the way that we give people time. And I still see it a lot as IT and development. So what we're doing right now is we're focusing on the fact that all of our members, and we saw in the past year that already 166 of our employees have initiated an initiative. So that means that the maturity level and the understanding and the mindset is going the right direction. So that's a huge important one, but we're not using the citizen development strategy and everybody can do it by themselves. We centralize it within the Center of Excellence and we are developing it for ourselves. There's the advantage that we can take up some speed because we know the different topics, we know how we can proceed. And on the other hand, governance, which is put in place, is not that broad as it should be, because otherwise, the more you have people who are using it, the difficult it gets. On the other hand, what we also see is that the Copilot and the ChatGPT, they're easier to unburden, and we see more and more people using those topics. So that's a bit the difference. What we also did is what we saw that it was a success by eliminating workload, by focusing on the different topics, so that we started also in rolling out the concept of the Center of Excellence towards the different countries where SD-Worx is present. At this moment in time, we already have 6 local Center of Excellences who are doing similar like we do and have focused on what's important for our employees. Along the line, what did we see, which were triggers to initiate the smart sourcing part, is that we saw that there were missing features within our applications. We saw that due to changes in legislations, our products weren't always feasible to follow. A lot of workload which was there. Sometimes we had new processes which are coming into the system, so we needed to think a bit different than before. Existing processes, we needed to adapt them because along the line, they're getting more and more out of time. Sometimes it can happen that within an organization, you have a level 1. And we all know that this can create a lot of work, which needs to be done, repetitive work. So also over there, we supported our teams. And the last one is that what we saw also in the roadmaps of different products, that some of the topics which were initiated, we didn't achieve them. So we used also the descoped items, and we come back on them because we're convinced that also how small and how limited they are for the teams, it can be an added value for all of our consultants. If we can combine this one, we saw that it's really important to have the right interaction between business and IT. So what we're trying to do is we try to be complementary and fill the gaps for the benefit for the employees, because that's for us is the most important. The more efficient somebody can work, the easier it gets. We used citizen development as an MVP, and we already have some examples where the MVP is then translated in the final solution of an application. Again, we're using them as supporting on level 1 actions, also towards products, because at that moment in time, they can support and they can do whatever is necessary for the delivery of the solution instead of then just firefighting. And yeah, we're reusing them. The most important thing is that we need to continue to pay attention to each other, because as mentioned, processes are subject to change. So it has an impact on the RPA part or the Power Automate desktop. But on the other hand, it's also important to have good insights and a good interaction with product team, because the way of working Power Automate desktop, robotics and whatever it is, it can also have huge impact on the product themselves. So the tension points for me also is that we need to keep control and grip of developments. But at this moment in time, as I mentioned, within our setup, by centralizing those applications within the Center of Excellence, it's less urgent than we should think about. And if I do a step back and I have some key learnings and takeaways, I came to this drawing in a sense that for us, it all started with the trust. We needed to work on trust in people. People should be at ease when we talk about technology. That's one thing. They shouldn't be afraid about technology and whatever it can bring them. Additional on this one, we worked on the mindset. And as I mentioned, the mindset is an initiator. If we have the right mindset and if we can let them see opportunities and how they can proceed on those things, I think they're a huge initiator because they all know the process. So that's important. And then technology, for me, technology is an enabler, but what we saw along the line and at quite some speed is that technology is changing. And nevertheless, which kind of technology, if you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have trust from people, you're not going to move along. So those are then the insights that I had. We needed to combine them all with the change management, because it's not from day 1 to day 2 that you can have all of those initiatives and those way moving forward. So important for us was the setup of the communities, the branding of our initiatives and the successes. We launched also on Yammer Viva Engage, we launched some Dare to Share channels, which is then owned by our first liners so that they can all share with each other. Those were important enablers to get to the point, combined with the governance that we put in place, which led us that we can steer, that we have insights. Like, for example, we could follow up, which then is the level of maturity, how many people were initiating initiatives, because based on those insights, we also saw that we get more grip on the situation, yes or no. And all of this is something that we needed to do, because if we can create those value and those added value by driving end-to-end improvements, it's important that we can all focus on what's important for our customers. And at the end, that's what we want to do. everything what we're doing within the company, it's useful, but we need to do it in the most efficient way so that it can bring along, as I mentioned, of the targets and customer experience and employee satisfaction. Those are then things that we can combine. And that, I think what we saw the last years is that we achieved in those way moving forward. Last one, what we often see is that people are a bit hesitant. We all need to have the governance and everything in place. To be honest with you, we didn't have all of those things in place. We just got started, and we were agile, and the rest will follow. So that was an important one. And the additional one is that when we talk with people and when we want to create initiatives and whatever it is, don't talk about tools, because for them, if we achieve the level of just giving a problem and don't reflect on the tools, you can move forward on this one. So those were my reflections on the past 4 or 5 years and how we proceeded and how did we started from scratch and moved along and were agile on the way moving forward.
Thank you, Gunther, for these insights. And then, Ingrid, how are we coping with this in the Equens environment?
Okay, I'll just share my screen. Oops. Okay. So good morning. My name is Ingrid. I've been around 8 years at XPLUS now. My current mission is at Equens Buelens. I am the lead architect for the smart building business unit. I don't know if you know Equens. Maybe you know the company it came from a bit better. That's Engie. So when I started my mission in 2020, I was still part of the what was called Engie. And so since that time, there has been a lot of change at Equens, being carved out from Engie, trying to shape up the Equens company, and not just in Belgium, but it's a global company, and then being bought by the Bouygues group in France. So there's a lot of change, a lot of action happening, which has an impact, obviously, on the IT landscape. The culture of Equens company, or even before of Engie, is that we have a lot of entrepreneurial people. We work with engineers. They are used to programming PLCs, so more in the operational technology. So they are very familiar and not afraid of actually technology and applications. The business environment is also very diverse. We typically work on a lot of sites where we're not the only service provider, so using customers' tools is not uncommon in this setting. So all of this leads a bit to a very diverse landscape of IT and a lot of actually end-user computing citizen development. We started also the architecture office at Equens and all the tooling and bodies of control that go with that. So how did we handle citizen development in that scope? So we had a few choices. Do we actually hunt this down and try to replace by something offered by IT? Do we just embrace and say, okay, whatever is there, let it be? Or do we try to indeed find some symbiotic coexistence? And the latter one is actually the one we went for. Some of the main drivers in that is there's a lot of things being developed out there, but it takes a while before it's really mature to be a full-blown solution for IT, and those typically cost more money. So it's good to try things, see, does it work? Do we need it? Do we even have this customer for more than 1 or 2 years? And then start investing in an IT full-blown solution once you are more sure about the full scope. And it's also a lot easier for end users to do trial and error at a small scale than sit with IT and come up with a good set of requirements for at least an MVP. So that is always a challenge for our people. Now, if you look at the architecture office or the things we've been organizing at Equens, so obviously we have a repository and its building blocks. At Equens, we use Linux, but yeah, not about the tool. Any tool will do. It's what you do with it. So we actually populate all the elements we can, applications, interfaces, technology, decisions. We also do lots of security assessments and store all of that. We have an architecture review board. We have demand management. We have committees. We have our CISO, GDPR offices. So all of that was put in place. And what do we do with end user computing? Well, they are actually involved in all of these processes. So they have a place in our Linux. They have fact sheets with their applications. Obviously, the inventory is always a growing thing. We do not have everything, but as soon as we find one, it actually gets a place. We review them so that at least it becomes a more managed and known environment. I took a few snapshots out of our repository. I will show you some graphs. Let's start at the top left one. So this is a bit of the capability areas that we are active in. Equans is a mix of two companies. We're doing a lot of maintenance and installation services, and we have also more in construction, where we are not repetitively doing activities in buildings on work sites or on streets, but do it as a one-off. So it's a mix of having asset monitoring, maintenance management, and then having toolings for designing, engineering, planning on the construction site. And you see actually across all of the applications we have in each capability, there is a mix of end user governed solutions and IT solutions. So the percentage varies a bit, but it's in all domains. There is not one area where they are not actively participating in creating their own solutions. If we then look at the bottom part, I made that to show if you draw the line where the average is, it's around 45% is end users tooling, and only 55 is actually IT managed and supported tools. So that's quite a lot. And we see the biggest creation of proper or own tools by the end users is actually in one of our core capabilities, is monitoring and maintenance management, but also in workforce and warehouse. So it's very active in that space. And we capture all those elements in our repository. They go through our processes. As I said before, so there's no active hunt for tools and try to eliminate them, but there's an active hunt for problem areas that might be there. Problems that we find, or problems that come to us, people having developed an application 2-3 years ago, the person with it is leaving or has left. They want bigger changes and they cannot really manage. So we are always indeed open for business. So if you want to come to IT with your tool, that's fine. We obviously will evaluate it. We do not accept anything to come as it is and we'll just take care of it, but there might be changes that are needed. We've done various things, rewrite it or lend out an IT person that works together with a team. All models have actually found a place, and it's worked quite well. So we keep on indeed expressing. IT has some central tools. We can showcase them to you. We prefer not to do it ourselves, but let a colleague of the business that is using them already show them to you what they do with it. So it speaks much more to how they can actually practically use it rather than IT promoting its tool. And so that works actually for us. So we have a few success stories I would like to share. So one of them is our quoting tool. We call it Newton. And that started out actually as a concept of spreadsheet. So a lot of people were making quotes with their own spreadsheet. So there was inconsistency in the pricing used, in the format. And so from the business themselves, they wanted to organize around a more centralized tool. They stayed with Excel, but changed to that there is like a central big Excel, and you can take this one and make your quotes. And when you save the quote, this is the repository you save it, and we have some BI reporting on it. And that worked well for a while. They learned a lot in 2 to 3 years developing this, getting more traction, more people that use it, till it came to a point, okay, it becomes difficult to deploy the latest version of our Excel to lots of people, and it becomes very slow to actually have a code calculated. And that's when they came to IT. Can you actually build something that replaces this? And we started on indeed building the Newton. We call it Newton Pro, which is then the official or IT supported version. And there was a lot of learning and trial and error that we did not have to go through with building the application from an IT point of view, because that all had happened before in the Excel. And so that worked out well. We have other cases. We call that solution Flashback. So it's a tool to manage inventory. We have a lot of sites where people are there for a longer period, and obviously they have to receive and manage some stock. We we do not have good solutions for that. So there was a lot of people having an Excel or building a little thing in Access. So there was a lot of variability until they talked with some colleagues in XPLUS France, it was actually, and they had a tool there in the area they really liked. It looked very good. It was an end user developed tool. So from IT, we said, okay, we'll have a look at it. When we looked at that solution, it said, okay, it looks very nice front end, but it doesn't have a database. It doesn't have X, Y, Z, all things that you say, yeah, so what? So we explained to them, okay, we can take such a functionality in, but we'll have to re-platform and build the solution. And that's what we've embarked on. And so that worked out well as well. It was easy for them to say, this is what we want, just rebuild it. We don't care in whatever technical platform that you need for IT that you say it's safe, it's sustainable, as long as it does what it does today from the front end side. So that was also a good way of getting requirements and building something. And then another example I would like to take is our central logistics services. So that started out as a group of people that built quite some toolings or even went out in the marketplace to get tools for the logistics services. So we have big central logistics warehouses where they keep the stock and dispatch steps to the different work sites. They also manage the vehicles. So they have a lot of different things managing, not just parts but also equipment, hammers, nails, drills, generators that come back actually from site. So they have a lot of functionality needs there and tools. So they started building stuff and they asked for, yeah, we get a bit stuck. We have like built a big database. Can we not get somebody from IT to help us? So that was done for, I think, a few years, and they had really a set of tools, but it was managed by the end user and at some point 2 developers they had working closely with them. And in a recent wave, we started also to work around product teams. Let's create some product teams. So we started with a few product teams that we set up based from mainly IT people, because it's hard to find a product owner from the business. When you invite them and say, okay, we want to have a product team, you'll be responsible for that. They say, this sounds like an IT job. Central Logistics is the product team now that has a business product owner in the lead, and they have 3 or 4 people from business actually being part of that product team, and a few from IT. And so this is like the perfect blend of where IT and the end user community came together and formed a product team as we can only dream of in the other areas where we just started. But it was not initiated from the business. And so we struggle a bit to get people from the business to want to take an active seat in that group. So those are a few of the success stories we had with letting them indeed work with the tooling and then come to IT when it becomes bigger, more serious. You have problems around scalability, security, stuff like that. Obviously, it's not all happy stories. We do have some problem areas. So if indeed everything runs wild, there's obviously a lot of tools, and also some of the end users complain, okay, there's just way too many places to look and find your information. I have to use 25 different apps. Okay, for some people, that is more of a problem. The younger ones are used to having an iPhone, and obviously I use 10, 11 apps. It's not a problem, but the older generation, that's more of a struggle when things is in little apps. There's obviously in such an environment, there's a lack of integration. People can build a tool on an island of data. That's easy. Building the bigger stuff, data integration is more tricky, and that usually cannot be done without IT. So there is some struggle about, okay, which is the source of truth? There is a lot of data that's everywhere, and nowhere is the master. So that there are some areas that we indeed need to address. And obviously, if colleagues don't talk to each other and you have at least 4 business units, each of them having 3 or 4 divisions and multiple departments, we rebuild the same features over and over again at an XPLUS scale, and probably even in XPLUS wider and weak. And we don't know that we actually do that unless IT uncovers, you have a new tool, we subscribe it in our repository. It looks very much the same like X, Y, Z. So unfortunately, you did not know about your colleagues before you started building that. Obviously, cybersecurity becomes more and more a topic. So it is for people not always easy to make sure that they are up to date with the latest if they start to go offer things like on the internet. We know that it's better to do preventative than curative because it takes much more effort. but that's also a struggle that we have to now readdress. Historical solution, like in the past, it was okay to do this, but now this is not safe anymore. So that's also areas we have to address. Now there is a continuous in-stream of new solutions by nature of our business, of our customers. So for us in IT, it's a race against the clock. So one of the things we are now doing is also at least looking at some cleanup, some harmonization of the problematic. So there are some areas that indeed we take action in harmonizing problematic areas or systems. So the ones where we have a huge overlap, where IT toolings are well positioned as well. One of those areas is actually maintenance and monitoring. That was on the top list of most of the applications we had, and also on the top list of most of end user toolings having been created in that space. So that's an area of attention where we will harmonize. We also are actively looking for solutions left with no support. Typically, the lifespan of an end user solution that's made in a quarter of technology is 2-3 years, and then the person changes jobs. So we have to be wary of that, and we try to indeed make sure that they don't use exotic tools, but go for power apps, use the things that will be here in Equens for a long time, and not some exotic platform you found in a corner. So that's at least a message we bring. And the ones that are on unsupported toolings, we try to indeed tell them, if you want to start something, at least don't do this, go for that. We have also requests for major changes, and that's always the opportunity we take to, why don't you come to the IT tool with your solution? What would be missing? So it's also always a help to find out more features, more functionality that could be useful for a larger audience. So as I explained, we are indeed in the maintenance and field service doing an exercise, and also on quoting, now that we have this Newton. Obviously, there's a lot of others out there that don't have Newton yet. So we are trying to indeed leverage that and get more functionality and more sophistication. It's actually the second tooling IT build. The other one in quoting is much more complex because it's for bending pipes, which is really special logic on how you sell a bent piece of pipe. And so they used to have a tool for that, and IT has also rebuilt that one. And we're also reaching out to our colleagues in Guik and other parts of Equens, because we share some platforms like SharePoint, like Salesforce. And every unit is supposed to indeed build in modular way, so that you can actually exchange and take functionality for the other. So that's an initiative that is starting now as well. So that's a bit the story of Equens. We do not have a problem with getting people excited or interested in citizen development, but to channel and make sure that it doesn't go in all directions is a bit our challenge. And we indeed have organized our architecture to make sure that at least all of this is in scope, and not pretend like half of the things we use in IT are not IT. So that's the story for Equens.
Thank you, Ingrid, for those insights. And then Annemie, giving those two cases, what can we derive as conclusions or as message?
All right. Annemie, Mariën recently joined XPLUS. Before that, 17 years of Worx, so we know each other, Gunther. And after that, I've been working for Capgemini and as digital transformation and change lead at Humanities. And I recently joined XPLUS, so I'm quite excited about that. 80% of technology and product and services will be built by business technologists in 3 years. This is quite a high number, but this is reported out by different sources. This source is from Gartner. Maybe it's not 80%, but already after the discussion we had and the talk we had from Ingrid and from Gunther, I think we can all agree that the shift from technology that is driven by IT towards the business has already started and is getting accelerated. And especially, and I know we are talking a lot about AI and generative AI, but this will never go away again. And I think it will even accelerate how much and is done by the business and how many tools will be used by business people. This democratization of IT that started small and it's gathering pace due to, for the ask for more business autonomy. Yeah, we all have seen the situation where IT was not able to follow all the business demands. that business people are getting a bit more nervous because the market is changing so fast. IT cannot follow. Yeah, all those one-liners, you must have heard them. So the ask for business autonomy is there and is there to stay. And I think, yeah, this is also one of the reasons that the shift towards, yeah, we will do it ourselves is accelerated. Of course, we see that also maybe already with our children, but in the market as well, people are getting more and more digital savvy. People are also eager to work with technology, and also it's more easy to access technology. So that makes it all much more democratized to really start working with technology and tools. That said, I truly believe that the role of IT is shifting from more delivery and real gatekeeping as an order taker, that IT needs to move more and more as a strategic enabler and orchestrator. So helping, supporting business people, putting expertise into the game rather than doing it themselves all the time. On the other hand, there's also responsibility, of course, at business. Like Gunther said, there is a mindset shift needed. Business in general needs also to empower their people, of course, to enable that collaboration with IT, shift the mindsets and foster that continuous learning, because the technology is changing overnight. So also people need to get trained and change and be in continuous learning, because what happens today might be different tomorrow. Already said by my two nice other guest speakers, there are benefits and there are also drawbacks. Maybe a bit of a repetition, but yeah, it's faster innovation and better understanding of customer needs. Like Gunther is saying, they're very close to the day-to-day work of the payroll consultants. They're very close to their clients. So who else knows better what clients and people need than the people that are actually working in the field? There's a reduced EIT dependency, what also accelerates solution deployment and market responsiveness. And it also has an impact on an empowered workforce. I see that with my clients. If people are getting more autonomy, are able to learn, that gives a lot of boost and a lot of engagement also at people in the field or on the shop floor. So that autonomy and accessibility to tools is not to underestimate. On the other hand, we all know in the past, it was called, of course, shadow IT. It comes with security and compliance concerns. We cannot have everybody just making interfaces or APIs with sensitive data. A lot of companies are also still struggling with the lack of data governance, where you see a lot of duplication of data which cannot be maintained. One of the biggest issues also with generative AI, but also other tools, is sprawl. You have a lot of tools, and that was also the case at Equens, that do more or less the same, which makes it not so easy to manage and to support. And there's also resource and data duplication. I saw already a question popping up: how do you make sure that you are not overdoing this and that you're also managing your costs? Yeah, making sure that you have a kind of governance model like Equens is now doing makes it also possible not to replicate things that have already been done, or put resources on the wrong tools and applications. And skill and knowledge gaps. People are learning fast often, but they are not technologists pur sang. They're not IT people pur sang or cybersecurity experts pur sang. So they really need to be supported. And as Ingrid said, please make sure that you embrace your business people that are asking for help, and do not leave them alone. And lack of best practices on how to do things. How can you then foster that collaboration and those digital deliveries that are done by the business in the business? IT should act more as an orchestrator. We have already got a lot of inputs in the past on agile and product teams, but as Gunther, but also Ingrid were saying, the power is in the collaboration and also in the symbiosis between business and IT. So the role of IT in the future, and I truly believe in that, is to become more the trusted advisor for technology deliveries than doing it themselves. How can IT and also enterprise architects help their business peers is by making, of course, a consumable IT platform, a strong platform architecture, so that there are core services common to all teams like security, infra, and data management, with reusability as main value, so that this can be consumed as a service. Support of business-led fusion teams at Equans, also a good example. The business teams make themselves a product team. People from IT were infused to bring expertise, but also design of more simplified frameworks, like we call it, a minimum viable architecture might help. So like everybody starts on the same basis, what makes scalability afterwards and support and maintenance also more easy. And then governance and communities, not to be a real control tower, because I also saw a question on that. It's not to put really control, but of course you have to do some also resource budget management in cooperation with your business, and put some guardrails and principles there, because otherwise it goes everywhere. And then maybe like Equals, they started really like exploring it all, and then you have to clean it up. It's better that you have from the beginning a very smart way of cooperation, and also a smart way to put your portfolio together, and not to underestimate, and their IT will also play an important role, change training and transformation support. The same will apply for business. You can, of course, leverage IT, and it's not about the tools, it's more about what you do with it. Low code, no code, generative AI, it's all coming up, and it's getting faster and faster. But that collaborative environment will really accelerate innovation. What is needed, and that's what I've seen with a lot of my clients, it starts also with strong sponsorship and enablement from the business. If you have initiatives starting from business but doesn't get enough sponsorship and not a lot of emphasis by all your sponsors that it's really the aim to work together on this, it will be very difficult. Clarity on strategic goals will also help all the parties involved to do the things right and make sure that you prioritize and put the money and the resources where they are needed the most. Seems like a no-brainer, but we see a lot things happening still in the field, people making tools, IT making tools, and that in the end are not used. So if it's all clear for everyone and you have to prioritize, it's very important that your business goals are known by everyone in the business, and IT is part of the business in that case. So they really need to know what the company is looking for, what their businesses are looking for, and support of the right behavior and culture. Invest in change and training. Start small, not overdo it, but offer continuous learning opportunities. Do not forget leaders, because if you see in teams that people are taking up some citizen development, make sure that they are supported, make also sure that they get some time for it, because they will benefit from it, but it requires a different mindset. And that is what Gunther also started with, that mindset of this is not a threat, this is really something that can help us growing as a company. That is something that won't be there overnight, so that common goal and common change management will be very important. Encouraging certification, put that also in your learning and development plans, is also something that I saw working at my clients, and gain the trust. Enable the COE, but gain trust amongst peers and between IT and business people, so that it's really for the good that these things are happening. And last but not least, co-govern and lead. Define clear roles and responsibilities between IT, avoid ambiguity. Joint OKRs or goals and objectives will help teams also to do the things that they should do and to go for it jointly, and make sure that that you have a good portfolio and risk mitigation approach. I've seen clients which actually tag their different tools, like this is something that you can do with a green tag. We are not involved as IT. This is orange, for instance. IT should be informed. We need to give you some guidelines, some guardrails, and there are some tools that they want to develop, but which are absolutely a no-go because of compliance and GDPR and security reasons. But at least it's clear for everyone what can be done and what cannot be done. So conclusion, so start small. So also what Gunther said, gain trust and do things that get immediate value, because then people start to recognize that it's really worthwhile to invest in this business development and making sure that there is a democratization of technology within the business. Don't stop the business initiatives. Do not call them shadow IT. It won't help. But be very clear and influential when it comes to potential risks, and when the IT professionals and the teams can be involved. For this, there's also trust needed. Hunt for problems, not for initiatives, is what I learned from Equans. Create a common strategy and goal amongst all the stakeholders. Design clear guardrails. Be clear on roles and responsibilities. Make business delivery easy by offering platforms, expertise, services like a minimum viable architecture. And very important, implement a continuous learning culture, because it won't stop. We all have already difficulties to keep pace with all the evolutions in all the different fields. Yeah, make sure that there is data literacy and citizen development programs which are managed truly as a program. Center of Excellences can help. And that, not to forget, that open mindset of innovation, initiation and collaboration, and embrace change management. Do not underestimate change management on all the levels, because this new way of working will require a different mindset. Co-govern this new collaboration by setting up a digital enablement office or PMO, managing the portfolio and change management together between IT and business. And seek active sponsorship. It doesn't help to have only your CIO as a sponsor. Truly seek that sponsorship also at your COO or whatever they are called, to make sure that you're all in this boat together. And in that case, it will give you the most value. All right, Bert.
And with this, we're more or less 9:30, so we're at the end of the session. There have been some questions in the chat. Gunther took the time to answer them, so thank you, Gunther, for doing that. For the rest, I want to thank you all for participating in this webinar, following it. If you want any more info, just let me know. And look out for our next webinar that will be held somewhere mid of October on another interesting topic. So by that, I thank you all and wish you a very good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.